Okay, so actually in Sonata form, there are 3 or 4 sections depending on what definition you're following. There's a lot of different definitions of this. I like to think of it as 4 sections. So I'm just going to use some text down here and label them. So the first one is called the exposition. These are kind of fancy terms, but I'll explain them in just a second. Second one is called development. Third one is called recapitulation. Hopefully I'm spelling things right. And the fourth one that is sometimes included as a separate thing and sometimes just included as recapitulation, but I like to think of it as a separate thing, is the coda. Okay, so let's make these look a little different here. Okay, let's do that just to separate it from my song piecing here. And I left off a letter there. Okay. So let's look at just our exposition first. I'm going to just take those away for a second. So our exposition is going to be A and then B repeated. So that is the exposition. So let's do this. Okay, there's our exposition. Now, the development is going to be our C. Now, what's going to be different here is that it's not that we're going to a C section that's equal to the B section or the A section. Our boxes are kind of tricky here. What this is it's actually roughly equal to the exposition. So that doesn't mean it needs to be the exact same length, but it's comparable. Let's just call it comparable. Okay, so I'm going to go way off my screen here because I still got more to go. So let's zoom out just a touch. Okay, so that's my exposition, or my development, sorry. So this is the development section. Okay, now let's jump back and look at our exposition. Now that we've seen this development, what that means is that this ABAB pattern is actually probably could be easily defined as that black box situation that we looked at before, right? Because all of those together could be called the A section in a way. So the exposition is this big 4-block thing. Then we have the development. Okay, now let's pull back our third thing, which is our recapitulation. The recapitulation is basically a fancy way of saying, let's bring back the stuff that we've already heard. So for that, I'm going to do an A section and a B section, but I'm not going to repeat it. So this is significantly shorter. So this is our recapitulation. An A and a B, same as we heard back here. So you could think of this as a half exposition, sort of. We get to play with it a little bit. So let's actually call those maybe prime, just for fun. Now remember, this is a modern interpretation of this. It's not necessarily the classical interpretation of it. And then for a coda, the last piece, what we can do here is I'm trying to find a new color to show that it's basically anything goes. Let's do Gosh, I don't know. What color have I not used yet? Purple. No, that's kind of like the other color. Yeah, it's hard to come up with a new color. Blue, straight up blue. Yellow. How about yellow? More yellow. There we go. Yellow. Okay. Coda can be something totally new. It's short and it kind of wraps everything up. So that's our sonata form. So if you look at what I did here, it's really similar. Here's our A, B thing. But now I'm just going to call it the exposition as this one big block. And then the development is actually significantly big, but it's a playing around with all of this stuff. Recapitulation is reminding everyone what our A and B section was before, and coda is just kind of a way to wrap it up and say this is the end. Now there's a little more to this. What we do is we think about, this is the way I like to explain sonata form. Imagine it's like a kid playing with toys. The exposition is when you pull out all your toys and you say, here are my toys that I'm going to use. That's your A and B right here. These are the toys I'm going to play with. And then your A and B here is the kid saying, no, really, these are my toys that I'm going to play with right now. So we're introducing the toys and we're reaffirming what our toys are. That's the exposition. The development is playing with your toys. So in this section, I'm going to take those toys and I'm going to just play with them for a while. So the melodies and the harmonies that I introduced in the A and B section, I'm going to experiment with. I'm going to go kind of weird with them. Get a little funky. Then after I'm done playing with all my toys, I'm going to say, hey, these are my toys. I'm going to remind everyone what my toys are, but maybe I broke some of them in the process of playing with them, so it might be a little bit different here. I might have a little bit less toys. I might have invented a new toy. Some of my toys are broken, lost, covered in snot, whatever. My toys are slightly different, but I'm going to show you one more time what my toys are. And then the coda section is me packing up my toys and putting them away, saying, those were my toys. Now I am done. That's the way I think about this. So it's not just that this development section is completely unrelated. It's actually related to some of these other things we've used. So when it comes to tension and release, our biggest release is here. When we go back to our toys, when we reaffirm the material that we've been using, we can also have mini tension and releases all over this development section. We can have lots of different moments inside of here where we pull away from the material, reintroduce some of the material, suspend the resolution of the material, all kinds of things like that. So those can be all over the development section, but then we have a big one when we head back to the recapitulation. We have all this time to be expecting to hear this material again here, right? So that's a big moment of release that we have in the sonata form. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this and maybe look at some examples.